Alright, can it stream? Can it stream? I think the bits are flowing. Was that my phone telling me the bits are flowing? Usually it's on silent, but yes, I think that was indeed the phone telling me the bits are flowing. Well, welcome back to the shop, everyone. Or welcome for the first time if you're new here. This is... oh, geez. You didn't actually see that, did you? I was putting on my coat and I forgot the camera was up here and I gave it a good whack with my arm. This was doing such a good job hanging out with Tuco. Come back. Yeah, the robot does a great job when I don't interact with it unintentionally. Yeah, it's actually going to have sensors for detecting stuff like that before it becomes a problem, but that isn't done yet. The sensors for detecting height above the ground, that's actually one of the next things I plan to work on here. And it's also got a bit of a radar motion detector that might be useful for quickly retracting if a human seems like they might be coming up on it quickly. So yeah, it looks like we're live on YouTube and Twitch tonight. So yeah, this is usually kind of a little virtual hackerspace where we hang out and work on upcoming videos and these complicated projects that often involve reverse engineering devices that we want to figure out how to interact with it at a lower level, or in this case working on a camera that hangs out with my cat because that's pretty cool. He was sleeping for so long and now he's coming over here. I guess I should get the camera out of the way. Anyway, this stream is actually going to be somewhat self-contained. As soon as I stop yakking and start actually working on stuff, we'll dig into Teardown for this weird device that claims to be a virtual reality peripheral. It's really more of a subwoofer, but, you know, I guess people had a pretty low bar for virtual reality in the 90s. Where's Tuco? Oh, he's over here. It'll be easier to fly this thing toward Tuco when the actual flying of it is a bit more automated. The next step there is having it automatically set the height of the flyer over the ground, which will help a lot. Right now, the combination of trying to keep the height under control and also keeping it from bumping into anything means it's also kind of hard to keep track of where Tuco is. But yeah, if he's going to be over here next to the heater, maybe I can fly closer. Yeah, oh man, there are so many problems when I'm moving right now that I need to debug, and then they compound on each other. So like a small problem with the control loop in one spot will then cause oscillations, which then other control loops will magnify. It needs some debugging. So right there, I was actually having, well, a couple of problems. One problem seemed to be related to the motion of the flyer causing the gyro to okay, and this is the other problem actually now that I'm hitting stop. Okay, yeah, so this is still running the factory gains, not the gains that we had tweaked, so it still goes into its kind of buzzy mode relatively high. Oh, stop that. So many problems to multitask. Okay, Stop that. So I don't yet have this set up to do all the settings automatically on power up, but there is a setting we can change which might help. It's actually this one. Yeah, and so I had this set pretty low before, which helps with the pitch stability, but can cause some nasty roll oscillations. So there might be other things I want to do, like maybe decreasing the well, I don't know. I think I might just need to reduce this, but not quite as much. So maybe let's try this around like 400. Or a little less, maybe like between 300 and 400. And how much does that help? Okay. It's also maybe not obvious from the visuals when I'm hitting the... So there's like an automatic feature now which detects oscillation in the gimbal and heads back to the 0 location. And it's obvious when I'm controlling it when that's kicking in, but visually maybe that needs an indicator around the edge of the screen or something. Kind of like the collision avoidance sensors, it probably should have an indicator so that people can tell, like, I told it to go right, but why is it going left? And that'll be obvious if there's some kind of indicator. Yeah, I think this does need to be a little lower. Maybe just further away. There's also another oscillation caused by just the tracking rectangle being really big in the frame and oscillating between the upper and lower gain regions. But man, this is sure oscillating. No, that's the gimbal oscillation detector, because even in halt mode it was... Yeah, is my limit just too conservative? Ooh. Yeah, I mean, that does seem like a real problem, not the detector overreacting. You know, I wonder if it would be better if I turned all those gains down. So this problem you're seeing right now is mitigated by turning the roll gain down, but if I turn that too far down, the whole camera is going to start oscillating. So I was going to preemptively try turning the other gains down a little bit also. Seems stable right there. Yeah, so I don't have a system for saving and restoring these settings automatically yet. I'm just like doing this for the sake of like right now in this current stream. But that seems like an improvement. That's like 400, 200, and 400 instead of the defaults of all 500s. All right. Well, let's hope this works. It seems like Tuco and I are both comfortable near the heater. So anyway, today's stream was not actually going to be related to Tuco Flyer, even though of course we can use this during the stream because that's how the show works now. But yeah, I was going to dig up something which I actually got this a while ago and just hadn't actually gotten around to taking it apart. So you might have seen this if you saw the title of the stream. This is the Aura Interactor, marketed as virtual reality gameware. Let's make this full screen again. Oh, this needs a card. There are some things I need, like this needs a card, and maybe I should get a beer. But mostly the camera needs a card. Maybe I should get some water, actually. Yeah, James says we have the same problem where the same problem as the video conferencing problem people have, where the first 10 minutes of the meeting is taken debugging the video conferencing equipment. Yeah, it is kind of like that. Although I don't know if that's a technology problem either, because I think just the beginning of an event is often just people arriving and getting their, stuff together and just getting psychologically ready and physically ready for the experience they're about to have. Oh, I think I need to move this camera up even more for today's stream because this thing is so tall. All right. So I've actually got two of these. You can see one of them is actually still in some amount of its original wrapping, and the other one is pretty beat up looking. They were both cheap on eBay. And so we might as well dig into the one that is apparently in worse condition just to see what we're even dealing with here. Oh, do I have this set up still? Yeah, cool. So from what I hear, this device is basically a speaker. It's pretty much just a speaker in a backpack. The reason I got it originally was, this was around when I was working on Wiggleport, which was kind of a, this design that kind of turned out to be this big complex idea about doing a modular platform for streaming data input and output. And I did a lot of work on the hardware design for that, and it kind of stalled out when the software complexity got a bit out of hand. So that project is something that I might come back to at some point, but one of the reasons for doing that in the first place was to experiment with kind of art projects like photography and video projects mostly, but maybe also physical installations that have to do with vibrations and synchronizing the vibrations with light and just generally synchronizing physical motions of different kinds with, like, for example, light and other just other stuff that you like to plug into computers. So that's why I started looking, just like kind of collecting cheap broken subwoofers and stuff like that, and for use as vibrational actuators. And so part of the reason to do this today is actually I would like to do some of that sort of filming tomorrow if possible. And I have some speakers and stuff here, but I don't even know what these are actually like inside. So let's definitely tear these down, see what they're actually like inside, and depending on how late I feel like going tonight, we can maybe even get into actually building the thing that I would like to try try photographing, which is effectively using these to, or using, well, some kind of a voice coil actuator type device, like some kind of actuator that I can use to move matter around at audio frequencies. I want to see if I can couple that to some liquid and get it to move through some very small diameter pipes with some bubbles, perhaps. So yeah, these things, they were sold as some kind of virtual reality experience where you can feel the action and such, and I don't think anybody really expected them to do that much, but let's see what's actually going on in there. I'm gonna get something to drink. I'll be right back. I ended up getting this beer variety pack, but of course, I tend to drink IPAs a lot, and of course the first thing I grab is an IPA. If you're curious, it's the Deschutes Fresh Squeezed. Let's see how that is. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to knock it just based on the fact that it's a subwoofer and a vest, because like I'm sure that might be interesting. But it's like not probably what we would want to market as virtual reality these days. So I'm going to put this one aside. This footage is really not useful with all the glare. I'll try to at least get a little bit of useful footage of this if I'm going to have it. Oh, that's better. Yeah, this is an interesting package, right? The front one that's not in very good shape had a broken handle also. Not doing too great. I assume this probably has a built-in amplifier. Like, they're saying it's compatible with video game consoles and arbitrary televisions, and I expect that that would require a built-in amplifier. So we might get to take a look at some really cheapo electronics too, not just a speaker. Feel the punches, jams, crashes, kicks, uppercuts, slam dunks, explosions, body blows, and more. Works with Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, connectors included, adjusts to fit all sizes. I wonder if it would fit my cat. He's a size. I had trouble finding a harness that would fit him. I had to go through a few sizes because he was like in between what people usually call medium and large. Oh wow, look at that brushed metal texture. By the way, it's always nice having a bunch of monitors with my cat all the time. Yeah, right? Oh man, they even have hex bolts. Even Apple's brushed metal didn't include hex bolts. That's like meme material right there. These and other systems. Well, video games, obviously. What even is that? Is that a Sega CD with a Super Nintendo controller or something? It works with the mighty TV VCR. Oh man, you have to adjust the control dials for this. It's like a baby's toy. Oh man, it works with CDs stereo. If your vinyl still owns your stereo, unfortunately, you're out of luck. It works with the mighty home computer, but only if your screen has been slashed into or infested by bats. 2 floppy drives. That's pretty cool. 2 floppy drives and 1 mouse button? Is that what I'm seeing? Alright. We can stop nitpicking the graphic design at some point, but I don't know, it's so hard. Adapters, blah blah blah. It's from Alaska and California. And it's all listed. And yeah, no license from the game companies, seriously. Yeah, and it does include an amplifier. Innovations. 1994 Design and Engineering Honors. Man, this was hot in 1994, according to somebody I've never heard of. Does it look any cooler on the box that isn't so beat up? Not really. Oh, is that CES? I guess that is CES. I guess that is something I've heard of. I just didn't recognize it by that name and logo. That's weird. Ooh, it's an adult toy. Alright, I think we've done enough glamour shots of this box. Alright, so let's put this one aside as a spare. Look how much nicer the art is on this one, though. It isn't all faded. So we'll put this aside as a spare in case the other one is completely broken or something. Get the microscope out of the way, but it is a little too long. That's what she said. Yeah, turn up the dubstep. Yeah, well, we could try this maybe with some music that isn't going to get the copyright bots after us. Oh, cool. Arden on Ardrin on YouTube chat says that they used to have one of these like 17 years ago, and even then they were being thrown out by the local electronics store. And they also recall that there was a version of this made into a cushion as well without the straps. That's interesting. Yeah, I forget, somebody on Twitter recommended this when I was looking around for just like cheap sources of actuators a while ago. And they mentioned that these were pretty low quality, but, you know, existed, and then I might want to look into them. Oh, this one's also a little bit banged up. Like it's like actually just like scuffed, like someone just like threw it across the driveway or something. But you can kind of see like a speaker cone in there. And it's interesting, it's not like a regular paper cone, but it's maybe it's still made of paper, but it looks like it could be made of a stiffer material, like some kind of metal. And it might be some kind of spring. I'm sure these straps have seen all sorts of gamer sweat. This is probably the Super Nintendo and or Sega Genesis compatible cable. Because I think those machines had RCA audio and video outputs. And this is, presumably this is just wired directly into the speaker. I want to measure that. Let's get out the meter here. Oh yeah, Carrick in Getter Chat mentions that Rez came with a sort of wearable rumble pack, sort of like this. Yeah, I mean, so Rez's thing was its own thing, and actually, if you're a fan of any of QDot's work on Twitter, they've actually also done some work with the Rez trans vibrator, and so yeah, that's got a lot of interesting uses. Yeah, I wonder how much overlap there is between the capabilities of this device and that thing. I think that thing was more like an off-center weight motor, whereas this one's more like a voice coil actuator. But you can use them for similar things. Oops. Let's get a good connection here. 4 ohms. 4 ohm speaker. Electron Ash is like, it's a speaker, surely. Yeah, I mean, that exactly. Of course it's a speaker. That's what we've been saying. Alright, that looks like... Are those hex nuts? Well, let's take a closer look at that after we get the rest of this stuff out of the way. And then this is the power unit in this crusty cardboard. Ooh, what is... That's... Wow. So there's like a pass-through DIN that goes this direction. This is weird. I guess this is the audio then. So there's a pass-through DIN going this way, and then that looks like the Super Nintendo plug? And that's a 3.5. That's weird. I don't know why. I guess we'll find out what this is, maybe. Because I wouldn't expect this to be useful, because then you wouldn't have any way of getting video out of your game system unless it comes out of this somehow. And this is just a heavy transformer. 3 pins over there have a oh, it has two 12-volt AC outputs, so that's probably positive and negative. Like they probably used that to make a split power supply in the amplifier. That's pretty burly. Big heavy transformer thing. No ground, of course. I wonder what the capacitors in this amplifier are going to be like. I don't think I have any reason to use this amplifier. Like, I can probably hook a modern Class D amplifier up to this, but of course we're going to tear it down. Whoa. That's... Wow, maybe the video for the console does go through this. I wonder if this is video... No, that's got to be the... This has got to be the amplifier output. So power and filter on this side. I guess this is like a filter cutoff frequency, maybe. No opening. Don't open it. We told you, don't open. Ha ha ha. I'm gonna open it. So it has normal A and B over here, a three position switch. B, A, normal. Then it has music and game, 2 positions. Source and power pack. So this doesn't even look like this one comes with all the right cables. Maybe we should open the other one just to compare it to a fresh unit. I don't know. Because this looks like it would be missing an 1/8 inch cable connecting it to something like this or something. And I don't even know, like, is this about the Sega Genesis somehow? I don't remember the Sega having a connector like that. And the NES, I mean, I remember it having something no. The NES had an RF modulator built in, and then it had RCA. So I suspect this came with additional adapters, which I don't really care about that much because I mostly just got this for the transducer. But if we wanted to do a proper teardown, we might open up the other one. So yeah, let me know if you feel strongly about seeing the more pristine unit. Otherwise, we'll just tear this one down. Greggles in Twitch says, I think gamer chairs still get sold using this technology in Walmart. Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen them recently, but then I haven't gone looking. I was just in the electronics section in a Target the other day, and it was like kind of striking how infrequently that happens versus when I was a kid that would happen a lot more often. Oh, Gregory wants to tear that shrink wrap. I see. Well, yeah, maybe we should just tear the whole thing down, right? We could put this one aside and open up the other box, perhaps. And compare and contrast what we've got here. Because I have no reason to keep these both pristine. And if I film the teardown now, then there's less things I have to keep in pristine shape. I can file away the components if I need to. Let's do that. Let's get a fresh video file. Alright, let's see what we get in a pristine-ish or Interactor virtual reality gameware system. Okay, DK confirms that Genesis might be that DIN kind of plug thing. 10-pin DIN plug. Alright. No more shrink wrap for this. Oh, look at the colors. That is eye-pokingly bright. I'll just lean it on my microscope to get a good shot. Let's try this beer. Oh yeah, I hope I don't have the same capacity for ranting on video as Dave. Maybe I just have to be doing this for longer. Alright, this one is in much better shape. See, I feel like I'm old enough that I am already complaining about stuff, and it's only going to get worse from here, right? Hey, yeah, this has a lot more stuff in it than the other box. This is great. We have a lot of articles to go through. Oh yeah. This is the shiniest piece of paper. Wow, these are the retrofits for later consoles, in case you're unlucky enough to try using this with a PlayStation or a Sega Saturn. Yeah. SCART adapter, yeah. So AV out socket to SCART, SCART to your TV with a little dongle for the Interactor thing. What is going on here? Oh, they just daisy-chained a bunch of different plugs together. I see. Okay. So we were missing all of these cables in the other package. There's this lead, which is an 1/8 inch going into the amplifier, to this collection of different things, which I guess you can get into a PlayStation somehow. Yeah, that's a little scary. You can connect it directly to a TV for watching soap operas with your Rumble. Where's my focus plane? Alright. Am I going to trust the servo AF for any of this? Who knows? I'm assuming this one was intended for sale somewhere where SCART was important. Power transformer. Okay, so that is a game adapter. So that, I guess, is what they replaced, or, I don't know. It seems like that was intended for the same purpose as the weird daisy chain cable in the other picture. No, it's definitely a Super Nintendo plug. And a Sega Genesis 2. Oh, I never had one of the little Genesis. I mean, my brother, I guess, was the one with the video game system. It was like the wider Genesis. Cushion. Cushion or vest. The cushion and the vest look very similar, don't they? Alright. Got business reply mail going to Alaska, California. There's an instruction manual featuring... Is that what you're supposed to do with it? Oh, yeah. Is she also holding the video game controller against her head? Scotty. Yeah, it's like that scene with the mouse and the transparent aluminum, right? I can't believe there's actually so much documentation in here. I mean, there's all the, like, boilerplate FCC and safety stuff. The latest in virtual reality gameware. The dimension of sensation. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should try their amplifier out, assuming the capacitors aren't leaking all over the place. Wow, yeah, DK in chat says that they were apparently pretty serious about this being the first consumer haptic device. Right? Dimension of sensation doesn't seem like it should be a vest. Yeah, so is this supposed to go on the front or the back? I guess she's wearing it on the back, but calling it a vest would imply that it goes in the front. But if it goes on the front, it seems like it would be, like, uncomfortable around the boob region. Oh, is this what normal A and B are for? What? No, maybe they're just labeling everything. What is going on here? Okay, I just wanted to know about the mode switch. They're just telling you how to hook up cables at this point. In case you don't know, you need cables to bring signals from place to place. Components will become slightly warm during use. Yeah. Yeah, I bet they will. I was actually curious about those switches. 23. Yeah, there are plenty of stereotypes in here, aren't there? There's power, there's filtering out background music. Yeah, I have to imagine that's some kind of filter cutoff level or something, but we can open that up and see what they're actually doing maybe. It's probably just going to be some op-amp circuit where they can adjust a frequency using a variable resistor. There we go. Oh, first try the game with filter set. Oh, maybe filter is like a threshold. Like maybe if it's under the threshold, it like gates it to 0. Oh, that's actually more interesting than I expected. This tries to do frequency shifting by a factor of 4, so 400 hertz sounds become 100 hertz. So the game setting enables the frequency division, or I expect it's probably some kind of vocoder thing in there. That's interesting. I mean, I imagine it's all analog, so they're probably just doing some kind of multi-channel vocoder, but yeah. And then in music, is that just some EQ? Huh. And then the A and B modes are for games that are specially designed for it somehow. So maybe that's like a lower level encoding where there's, I imagine, maybe something like modulated or otherwise non-aural that you can control this with. That's interesting. That is a lot more interesting than I expected it to be. I'm glad we took a look at the manual. Huh. Yeah, right. I mean, all the filtering and signal processing on this stuff would have had to be stuff that is easy and cheap in the 90s, so I imagine it would be like a few op amps, definitely not a DSP or anything like that. That's... yeah, okay. They're like, no, twiddle the knobs before you take it back. And I'm like, of course, we always twiddle the knobs. This looks like it's been chewed a little bit. I have to keep that away from Tuco. the complete set. And this just looks like the same stuff we've seen, just in a nicer shape. Alright, well maybe I will keep this stuff in the box and we can take apart the stuff that I've already taken out over there. Oh yeah, 2-player. Was that what the A and B were for? I didn't catch that in the manual. Yeah, that would make sense if that was for 2 channels for 2 different people playing with the same audio. That's really cool. Alright, let's just tear down this backpack first. The other one is still in good shape, so if we want to just use it normally, even if... Like, I'll try to tear this one down carefully, but... Like, my intention here is more to get the parts out than to like play with it as a complete object. But it's nice to have a spare for that purpose if we want it. Damn, no, seriously, stop opening stuff. What do we have in here? Those aren't rivets, are they? No, those are nuts. Those are torques. Alright, let's bring some screwdrivers over here. Camera's losing the cat now. The packaging promised us hex bolts. Yeah, seriously. I don't know how many different sizes this is going to include. Wire is so tiny. I have to imagine a lot of these wires just broke off right there. Yeah, it does seem like this is the sort of product that somebody probably lost a lot of money on. Really long screws in the bottom. Alright, that was those 4. There are 2 more up here. Or I think that's just something related to the straps. I don't think those are necessarily screws. And then I think we need to take the bolts, those nuts off too. Yeah. I might have to get at those with pliers. Those are an inconvenient size. I think those might be bigger than the little nut drivers I have. A bit smaller than the sockets I have. Let's try this though. Is that? Yeah, that's too small. I'm just gonna have to go at that with pliers. I'm turning it. There's nothing on the other side I should be aware of, is there? Oh! Yay, actually that's the way in. Are those Torx? Yeah, okay. That's the same Torx. Yeah, this is a lot of plastic. Look at the weird scuffs on these edges, too. Can we focus? Maybe not. I'll have to get a different view of that later. Wasn't sure how much of that was wear from use and how much of it was mold defects. This is actually hard to get the nut to hold still at this point. Do I have anything that's closer to a socket that's that long? I mean, I don't think these are longer, no. Oh yeah, CES in the mid-90s was full of all sorts of stuff that didn't really work, wasn't it? Yeah, this is something that would be really easy if I had the right tool for the job. Yeah, CES is pretty similar these days, isn't it? It's always going to be people doing the shiny things. I think this is working. It's so hard to tell if it is. Yeah, this is tedious. So what is loose and what isn't? Yeah, so I can see the actuator in here, and it is pretty interesting. It's like you replace the speaker cone with a counterweight. Yeah, a custom nut driver for this might be a good idea. How much do I care about opening this thing in one piece? Excuse me. I guess I'd have to press in the plastic with some like plastic wrap around it so it doesn't stick to the hole. Oh, is that it? I think that's coming. Also slipping up here. This probably isn't metric. I mean, maybe it is. Do I even have a bigger Torx? Ooh, I do have a bigger Torx actually. That might have been part of the problem. Switch to trying to wedge something between the nut and the edge of the hole. That seems to be working. Oh, are Torx always metric? That's nice to know. Oh, that worked. The nut just came out. Cool. Let's do more of that if I can. That was just wedging the nut against the edge of the hole. I suspect the thing I have in mind for basically pumping fluids, or maybe not pumping, but like oscillating fluids, I'll probably end up wanting to do that with just a regular broken speaker instead of this thing with the counterweight. But I think the design might be interesting to look at. I'll probably want to use this for something else. This Torx is getting a little stripped. Excuse me. Gamer chairs. I hope gamer chairs would use better parts than this, but they probably don't. Is that the third one out? Or is it not quite? I thought I had that one loose, but maybe that was a false alarm. Oh, it's so close. Yeah, haptic stuff is interesting. I remember being pretty interested by these position entry devices with haptic feedback a while ago. I think I saw them at SIGGRAPH. It was like a little, it was sort of like a stylus like you might see on a graphics tablet, except it was also connected to a base via like a little robot arm. And the little robot arm could apply forces. So. Yeah, I think this one is not quite out. And then maybe we can get it open. I don't know if it's just me or if this thing smells terrible already. I can't tell. Yeah, an articulated arm pretending to be a stylus, exactly. I mean, it took a lot of effort to have it pretend to be not an arm, but the arm was just there to apply forces because the stylus couldn't just have like reaction control thrusters or something. We should just apply enough torque against the tablet's magnetic field for feedback, right? This is getting there. So those were machine screws with locking nuts. Wow, this thing seems ready to come open. There we go. So we have a lot of empty space and this weird thing. And that's pretty much it. Some bolts. So this big ol' injection molded thing, which unless you want to use this as a backpack is probably useless. And that's how this was attached. So these are melted and then just put over these big plastic posts. I have to imagine that was alright, but occasionally that would have been the failure point. Some more the kind of straps you'd find in a dollar store backpack. Alright, and then we got this. This is actually pretty heavy. Let me get a scale. Whoa. Let me knock over everything and get a scale. Let's see how heavy this is. Oh yeah, what material is the case? That's a good question. It definitely could be ABS. Is it marked? I don't know if this one is a mold version or if it indicates material or anything. I mean, it feels like it could be ABS for sure. I mean, I don't know what else. Maybe polystyrene, but it feels stronger than polystyrene. Probably ABS. I think my friend uses this scale for cooking and they use weird units. And now this boots up in that by default. I need to remember how to switch it. It's a little big for my scale. It looked like about 750 grams. 770 here. We can try that again once we've got it off. And I realize the lighting there is terrible too. Let's just take it off there and get a good shot of it on the scale. James says that almost looks like a big piezo. No, it's not a piezo. It's just like a regular speaker, but it's got a counterweight on top. So this thing on top is like a big washer that moves up and down. And then I think below that, we're probably going to find a normal speaker voice coil, but this is a teardown. Let's find out. Oh, interesting. Gregory is wondering if we could test it, whether it's ABS, by trying to dissolve it in acetone. Yeah, I don't know if that is a unique test. I also don't think I have any pure acetone here. I have nail polish remover, but not just plain acetone. Oh yeah, Game of Knowing, I think in reference to the like input device that was like a stylus on an arm, they're saying, I think they use something similar for high-end 3D scanners. You manually move the scanner around a space, and the scanner is on the end of an arm with encoders on the joints so that it knows exactly where it is. Yeah, I think nowadays the new hotness is to do that kind of sensor fusion stuff, or like that's basically SLAM. It's like simultaneous localization and mapping, or location and mapping. So you're locating the sensor and then also mapping out the environment. And I think that's nowadays good enough for 3D scanning. At least I've seen things that you just like wave around and it fuses the model together. And like I've done that with the Kinect, but it's not really high res. I think there are some nicer laser-based scanners that use a similar technique. So that just comes straight off. It looks like this was designed so that you could have several posts going up through the middle, but they've only got posts in the middle too, and then these are just acting as sort of flat cushions. So it's interesting. It's hard to tell whether this piece was designed for this purpose or whether this is something off the shelf that they bought. So yeah, it's got these two spidery, it looks like fiberglass springs, basically. It looks almost like this is cut out of PCB material, but it could just be any kind of fiberglass. So this is providing some return force. This is a strange object. If we can get in there through the nut surface there. I mean, it looks like this is sealed in with some kind of... I don't know. Some kind of glue or glue-like material. I don't know if that would be silicone. They probably would have used something cheaper than silicone. Yeah, I don't know if we want to go in any deeper than this. We could try. It's probably going to be... you can see the coils over here. So there's the wire coming in, and then the coil is wrapped around the perimeter of this whole thing, and then the magnet is presumably in the middle. That is a little different than a speaker, isn't it? Greg is asking if it's like a primitive Haptic engine. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, Haptic is just like Apple's brand name, right? I mean, it's a linear resonant actuator, and those aren't something Apple invented. So yeah, like this is probably just an older linear resonant actuator. Interesting they use different size connectors here, like they really want it to be easy to hook it up with the right polarity. Oh, that's cool. Let's open up the amplifier and then maybe try powering this thing up. Oh right, I was gonna weigh this. And then I can put the scale away. Yeah, 630 grams. It's a big chunk of metal. Oh yeah, James, you're right. Those 4 holes that I thought they weren't using, those are where the original 4 bolts were going through. That's totally right. So they had those metal bolts just holding this big old mass in there nicely. Because that is going to be the weak point, holding something that massive with some plastic. screwdriver. That's slightly less worse. So, anyone want to bet on whether any of the capacitors are leaky? Oh, cool. DK mentions that this transceiver is supposed to resonate at 45 hertz. That's cool. Did you find a datasheet for it? Was there any number on here I missed? It says 1410.3, but that seems like maybe a date code or something. Oh, and G10 fiberglass. Oh, interesting. An anvil-style transducer. Cool, so I guess DK in chat has seen these before. So normally they're surface transducers. This one seems to be a free weight transducer. So yeah, I mean, I assume the coil is stationary on the outside, and then the magnet is on a ring somewhere in here, and then they've got the whole thing lined up so that that stays parallel with the coil. So like a speaker voice coil, but somewhat different. Oh, and they make bass shakers now. Interesting. And the technology lives on. I wonder if any of these electronic designs are still in like consumer electronics bass shakers now. Oh, big old caps, and they came unglued. Huh. Oh, that's a little nicer than I expected. So you have, I'm guessing this is like a class AB amplifier. Tip 20 or tip 41 and tip 42. That's really simple, just like a single push-pull amplifier channel running off of plus and minus 12 volts. And I assume these are the filters for the incoming power. Plus or minus 20%, 6800. Is that a bridge rectifier? Yeah. One bridge rectifier. One bridge rectifier. That must mean it's a center tap transformer. Let's get this out of here. There's one screw in the middle. Yeah, the through-hole board is very classic here. This is pretty well made, but not, you know, like extravagantly expensive or anything. But it's just a single-sided through-hole board. And it looks like it's made on that cheaper substrate still, but that was really common for consumer electronics, and still is for stuff like this. Oh, ow, this heat sink is sharp. They did not deburr it, really. rev 8DO. A little bit of flux residue on the connectors. I wonder if that's rework actually. Around this connector and that red LED. So what about these controls? So this one's power, this one's filter. Some really weird polygon traces around here. I was just trying to follow this, and just interesting how they follow the edge of the board there. Not a whole lot I can glean from this circuit without doing some more serious reverse engineering there. I assume that 8-pin JRC is an op-amp, and that some of these might be multiple op-amp or filters, and then these are like CMOS analog parts up here. 4051 and 4013. I don't know what those are off the top of my head, but they seem common. A lot of 0-ohm links too. They use these nice resistor-like parts. Well, that's cool. I think we should try this out. I might put this back on the bottom half of the case just to like have it not just be sitting on the desk where it can short stuff out. Because that's like a good place for it to hang out. I think this transformer's still alright. It's probably fine. I'm gonna go grab a power brick or power box. The source for input. Alright, got an iPad here. So, I don't think we need this for anything. This long cable. Huh. Interesting. DK is saying that whoever bought Aura Systems looks like they might try to relaunch this at some point. What gives you that sense? Does it just seem like they're like holding on to all the pieces they would need to do that? So filter and power. I think game mode seems the most interesting thing to try because that claims to be shifting the frequencies down somehow. So I'm going to get an 1/8 inch cable and just plug this into an iPad. By the way, what do you call these? I discovered relatively recently that a lot of people call these aux cables, like after the auxiliary input on their cars. And I never really did that, but now I'm discovering that I guess a lot of people started. And it makes me want to start like a cable company called Aux Cables. And it could even be like the animal, the oxen or something. But I don't think anybody would get it. And the people who do get it wouldn't care. And they wouldn't buy my cables. Oh yeah, computer speaker cables. Yeah. Yeah, the whole concept of computer speakers kind of doesn't exist anymore. Because people just expect audio to be good on their computers now. But yeah, the whole idea that you should have this category of speaker that is not included in the computer, that you still have to buy separately, but isn't really intended to be that great. That DIN plug is a little bit loose feeling. Alright, here goes nothing. Couple watts. Have some audio coming out the iPod or iPad here, and let's try turning this on. Wow, it's kind of a decent subwoofer actually. I can't tell if these are... Can't tell what if this is intentional. I think the volume control might be a little squeaky. Maybe that's why this ended up where it did. I think maybe the volume potentiometer is dying on this particular amplifier. Tuco is worried about this thing. Oh yeah, and the song is Voltaic from Super Ego Royal Jelly. And maybe I can get the audio to come out properly. It's definitely doing some good shaking. It's still kind of hard to tell what filter is doing. We could try hooking this up to a function generator. Yeah, the pot is probably dirty, I know. Pretty good feel. kind of want to try this with the actual plastic surround on it to see what the vibration was like. Let me get the one that's not gross on the outside. It just needs to be cleaned a little bit. Here we go. And maybe a longer wire. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the song. This one feels a lot more like I'm holding a subwoofer. That's pretty cool though. I can see how this would be interesting to wear on your back. Let's try some kind of, I probably have some kind of app that can do frequency sweep. I don't know if we should try listening to the music also. I don't think that'll provide the same immersion that it does on the end of the YouTube video. I sure thought I already had a signal generator app on here. And of course now when I look at the App Store, all of the ones there are ones that I don't recognize. Which probably means I should just grab a piece of test equipment, but this is already plugged in. Oh yeah, that was sad seeing this old Tony connect his channel 1 directly to the piezo. Yeah. I guess nobody warned him that those are high voltage. Okay, so I'm playing a tone now. So I'm hearing those, but not very much. Ooh, yeah. This is covering up the power meter. Thanks, camera. That's definitely making some sensations. Yeah, okay. Maybe we should try to get a sense of how these modes actually work. Yeah, find some resonance. Which switch is which? So right now it's on game mode, which is their shifty thingy. That was weird. There was a dramatic change there around 2100 hertz. Huh. So this is the knob marked filter. So it's some kind of gate with hysteresis. Can I zoom into just the lower frequencies here? That seemed to have a resonance around 370 hertz. Yeah, right there. Ooh, that's pretty rumbly too. Another around 220 or so. That's nice too. Ooh, that feels really nice actually. It's like pleasant, relaxing vibrations around 90 hertz. That's interesting. It gets pretty intense around 70 actually. And then around 40. Okay, let's try the other mode. This was the game mode. Let's try music mode. Alright. It's higher pitch now, for sure. This sounds more like the real pitches and not the shifted pitches. It's also pretty loud. Woo! Jumps around at like 60 hertz. Yeah, now it's resonating around 57. Oops. This makes a pretty good vibration actuator. Like if I did want to move things at specific frequencies. The resonance is pretty strong, but We could try listening to music. Whoa. We could try listening to music in music mode instead of in game mode. I mean, yes, it is a vibration actuator. But I mean, yes, that's why I got it, is I wanted a vibration actuator, and it's a lot cheaper to buy one of these than to buy one that's designed for physics classrooms. Why is that still running? Oh yeah, now the music's actually intelligible. Now it's just a really bad speaker compared to game mode. That's game mode. Oh, the crackliness was not the potentiometer. The crackliness was the gating that the game mode is doing. So this is just assuming that you're not doing continuous things, but intermittent special effects is what it's doing. I've seen those like surface speaker actuator things. I haven't actually played with them, but those seem kind of interesting. Yeah. I know ThinkGeek was selling one, and it seemed kind of gimmicky for a while, but the idea seemed pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm generally interested in sources for interesting parts. Like if you know where to buy actuators, especially if they're affordable, I'd be interested in links to stuff like that. Yeah, I can see this being useful for music videos, attaching it to stuff. I mean, the thing I'm actually interested in using this to do is to move stuff that's pretty small and is going to have a lot of its own resonance. So the resonance on this thing might not be as much of a problem. Oh, SparkFun has one? That's cool. Okay, so I think this is great. I think we're definitely going to use something like this. One of the effects that I wanted involved transferring vibrations into fluids, and I think I might end up doing that based on a regular speaker instead of this, though. Like this might be useful for just getting like structural vibrations, like shaking tables and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so that was fun. Oh, that's right, this plays in the background. Thanks, Bandcamp. Cool, yeah, DK says that if I hard mount something to the frame, I can just shake the crap out of whatever I want. That does sound useful. Yeah, so that basically solves half my dilemma here. That's how do I shake solid objects, but not necessarily how do I move the liquids around. For that, I was thinking about doing something involving modifying like either a small subwoofer or like a large mid-range, like some kind of like maybe 3-inch or so diameter speaker. And then modifying it to the diaphragm is effectively also the diaphragm of a pump. But another idea comes to mind that, I wonder if I can use an actual diaphragm pump, but then modulate the power source. So something like an aquarium pump I think those usually just use like a solenoid basically to pump the diaphragm in and out. And so if I hook those up to my own power supply at audio frequencies instead of 60 hertz, I wonder if I would get enough useful motion. Oh, interesting. DK wants a measurement of the impedance of this actuator. I don't have a network analyzer here. We could certainly... Yeah, what could we do there? I mean, imagine to get a useful sort of impedance plot, we'd have to put a good amount of energy into it, right? I'm interested in trying that, but it'd be useful. I'd have to research a method to do that, unless you've got something that I could try. And yeah, if the tank has a flat bottom, yeah, that could be interesting. Robert's noticing that acoustic impedance is measured in Pascal seconds per cubic meter. That is fun. I'm a little bit stalling because I don't really know what to do next, and if we don't have anything to do next, I might have to wrap up the stream. But I do have this interesting tubing. This is similar to the stuff you'd find used for like intravenous tubing, but of course this is not the expensive medical rated stuff. This is just like relatively inexpensive Teflon. Where's the end of this? Oh, the resistance to the coil. Oh, I already measured that was 4 ohms. Yeah, okay, I guess I was overcomplicating that. So yeah, I'm imagining something involving macro photography of a bunch of this tubing with liquids going through it, moved around by actuators, and especially if I can set up interesting vibrations where the liquid is moving in potentially some related but not identical way to the way the tubing is moving. And then maybe there's also stroboscopic lighting or synchronization with the camera. I mean, the end result of all this is video, but there might be some interesting, like, practical stuff going on, like, with synchronizing lights. I don't know. This is very small, though. Anyway, I'm thinking that maybe one thing to do would be to design something I can print at a NinjaFlex that would just stick on top of like a part from an existing speaker, and then it would like maybe if I can make it with a NinjaFlex 3D printed cap. Well, the reason I think NinjaFlex is because I can imagine making a small hole that I could just press this into, but 3D printing might not even be the right thing. Like I could do this with machined HDPE maybe. Oh, yeah, this is really thin. This is very thin. It's extremely thin. Where's my calipers? My calipers are on the other desk. But I think this is 28 gauge. I think that's the same as wire gauge. Let me cut off a little bit and we can experiment with it. Oh, this one you can actually start to hear the vocals. not really set up for microfluidics here, obviously. I do have petri dishes though. Maybe I can find some brightly colored liquid we could suck into this. Actually, I wonder how much... I don't really know how the capillary effect is going to behave at this particular diameter. I do have the ability to make stuff without 3D printing. Sometimes that's the way to go. What would it take to actually seal this to my pipette? I usually have a little lump of blue tack on my desk, but I guess I cleaned my desk too much. I guess I'll use a tiny bit of this polymer clay instead. Yeah, an improvised diaphragm pump to drive fluids at audio frequencies for art reasons is a pretty good summary of what I was trying to do, yeah. This isn't necessarily it. I'm just trying to get some fluid into this tubing to see how that looks. So I've just got one end of the tubing sealed into this pipette with some clay. Oh, that looks great. Cool, now I've got some little tiny droplets of liquid left in the tube. I'm 2 servo AF right now. Yeah. So like this, but more of it, and some audio frequency motion. Actually, I wonder what happens if I just put the transducer on top of this pipette. Let's get a little bit more in there. Okay, this is going to be terrible, isn't it? I'm just going to want this whole thing to be under the microscope in just a second. Oh, is that too close to focus on? Playing music. Oh, that's interesting. The vibration seems to cause the liquid level to drop somehow, like maybe it's letting air around the clay joint, maybe. I mean, this is not at all doing what I want, but it's like slightly interesting in its own way. While I've got this set up, we might want to see what this looks like just on, or like under some liquid. I still want to do the like diaphragm pump kind of thing, but that requires a different setup. This was mostly just me playing around. A steampunk tampon. Yeah, that would be great. That's exactly what I need. I got clay stuck in the end of my pipette now, of course. Oh wow, is this part coming apart? It looks like this top fiberglass piece is coming unglued from the surround. Or was it ever glued? It seems like it was supposed to be glued. Huh. That might be a problem. Needs a little bit more liquid for that to be visible. Oh, cool. Paul discovered a neat microfluidic setup with channels engraved in the sides of Lego bricks recently. That does seem neat. At the risk of getting this clay all over this actuator, let's try using this to attach things. That doesn't really stick. Well, maybe I can at least hold it there without it causing quite so much of a sharp point in the bottom. Whoa. Yeah. Maybe if I stop this down a little bit, I'd like more depth of field here. No. This button. Am I not even recording this? I mean, this is just like setting up stuff anyway, but some of it's cool. Let's go back to a louder part of the song. I think I just need more light. I do have a source of more light. Be right back. This will be more light. Tuco's like, I'm getting out of here. Yeah, I know, this is just water and there are plenty of other fluids to use, right? Now Tuco's checking out the box this came in, of course. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so the camera being wobbly is not helping. And obviously this would be better with more interesting stuff to vibrate. But that's a good step in the right direction. Synchronizing this with the lights would definitely be interesting. James is asking if I have something like sand. Yeah, kind of. I think liquids are, I mean, sand is interesting. Liquids are more the direction I'm going in for this particular project. But yeah, maybe the sand, maybe particles that act like liquids could be part of that. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, these surface waves are really interesting, but I would like to find some way to get this interacting with fluid in little capillary tubes also, which seems like I need to make some sealed compartments for that. So yeah, I think maybe the next step is like use this for part of the setup perhaps, but also be thinking about how to actually pump some fluid into the capillary tubes, or some fluid air mixture that can vibrate interestingly. Paul suggests a spiral of tubing partially submerged with the open end underwater. So that yeah, so the pressure waves in the container end up forcing fluid into the spiral, maybe, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to do this with maybe like the pump portion of this in a closed container, but the rest of this open to the air, just so that it's easier to work on. Josiah in YouTube chat says I should use the frequency generator instead to make cool patterns. I mean, I thought the patterns with the music were pretty cool. If you want to see stationary patterns, then sure, but my goal was not to produce stationary patterns, but to produce like pieces for some video. Yeah, there's a train. Anyway, I think that might be a good stopping point for this particular stream. I need to think about how to actually build basically a simple diaphragm pump for this. And I might try to do something involving just like repurposing an aquarium pump, but it would be nice to do something using just like what I've got around here, which includes some speaker parts. And if I can use some speaker parts plus some 3D printed and or machined parts to put some liquid through my diaphragm, or through the little tubing using some kind of DIY diaphragm pump, then I think that would be great. It is very little tubing, and the contrasty liquid shows up pretty nicely. Oh yeah, macro. So we were reaching the limits of what this camera can do, but I do have a microscope. I'm doing a terrible job at trying to get this clay out of my pipette. I think I'm going to have to cut open that part of the pipette. Anyway, let's switch to the microscope. What is that? Oh my gosh, is that the power supply in this light? Oh my gosh, that might be a problem. that's the power supply in this light. Yeah. Yeah, so the thing is, I know diaphragm pumps are simple. The thing is, I don't even really need a diaphragm pump. I just need diaphragm vibration. But the pump might be a convenient way to get those parts already and already attached to a solenoid. Obviously, you could just build everything from scratch. Wow, this is interesting. I'm going to turn on the recorder just in case any of this footage is cool. Yeah, that's interesting. It's already like full of weird interference patterns and stuff. Wow. Let's start at a really low volume. I think I want the microscope pointed closer to the edge so that I can see the stationary patterns when they happen. In fact, I think I already have some pumps here that I was intending to use for other kind of liquid projects. Oh, this would be great in slow-mo. Oh man, the lines from this lamp are a problem. And that's not nearly enough light. I don't think the kinds of motion I'm looking for are going to come from driving a stepper motor based pump. I want a voice coil. If I was doing more of a proper shoot instead of a live stream, I can move these lights around more. Like that light is attached to the same stand as the microphone I'm streaming from, which would be awkward to start moving around right now. Oh, that's cool. The plate vibration is interacting with the rolling shutter on the camera. Man, I think this is totally not why I got the tubing, but a bunch of little cut up pieces of tubing sitting next to each other in this would look really cool. I'm kind of tempted to do that with some wire, actually. Let me get some of this. nice hair. Some of this already make actually good B-roll, but this isn't the core of what I was going for yet. This part is nice. I hope this recording has audio in it so I can sync this up later if I want to. I mean, I can definitely tell where I am in the song just from here, but it would be funny if I was just like missing the audio channel on this recording and just have to sync it up by hand later. I'm gonna try a steeper angle with the camera. Maybe after I let it run through this some more, because some of this might actually be good. I like the color combination here. And you can imagine something with like a diffusion process or something else chemically interesting happening might be fun. Oh yeah, no, I should just play the song, because, I mean, you're already hearing the bass, and I don't think the YouTube copyright bots know about this yet, and it's a good song, and I'm happy to promote my friend's music. I think I just logistically need a Y adapter, and I can plug this in. Someday in the future, this will get added to the copyright database and it'll retroactively delete my video, but that'll be fine. I wonder if they actually do that. Whoa. I have no idea how loud this is going to be. That's too bright. Sorry, I keep skipping around. This is kind of prototyping stage, like thinking about what I actually want to do here, and just like trying to get some ideas in my head ready to both try out and to like describe to them to see if they like them at all. Some of this is just going to be like collecting B-roll, and then I'll just hand it off and they can edit it however they want. I'm imagining something like this, but with more tubes and with liquid and air bubbles actually moving inside them. I was originally thinking of something kind of more looking like a circuit board, but if I can use these surface vibrations, that would be really cool, because they are fun. And especially the way you can constrain the surface vibrations with the tubing is pretty neat. The wires are all sinking to the bottom. Where'd our vibration go? Oh, the volume knob was sticky. I should really experiment with different viscosities here. Just looking at the liquid in between those two wires is giving me that idea. I've got a quantity of mineral oil here, which might be interesting for that. But that might be too thin for the capillary tube stuff. And I'm going to need different lighting. That really bright LED is just really flickery. If I could have the LEDs like stroboscopically useful, that would be nice, but as it was, just being a multiple of the frame rate wasn't helping. This was the track I was most interested in like working on content for. It's called Wires and Blood, but I'm curious if this would go well with something like Goodbye Horses. I don't know. I don't think that's the right kind of thing for that song. Nature Girl. Tiny hairs are going to bug me on this. Have to work in a clean room. Yeah, seems like it's better for the other song. Oh, this is neat. Yeah, like, I don't think this is useful on its own, but it might give us ideas. And it's pretty. Yeah, a really slow flow might make some of this easier to film too. Like last time I was doing experiments with liquids like this, I had a lot of luck with using a disco ball motor to just slowly spin the whole thing around, and that helped with the photography. Some of this might be useful. cool how the surface tension gives you kind of this corona effect almost as it bends the light toward the point. Oh, that's cool right there. That ripply pattern is actually coming from my LED panel. Where is that yellow on the left side of the frame? Oh, it's a little bit cut off on the view for you at home. There's a lot of degree of control you've got just by hand moving this stuff around, which is super fun. Where's that? Oh, the yellow was the fiberglass.
That was worth keeping.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, that's neat. I think I'm done playing with that technique for the moment, but I think that is interesting, and I might do more of that. And I've got some ideas for what to build next as far as stuff that will move stuff to the music in a way that I like, and that my friends might like also. Paul asks, could sending air or fluid out of the tubes produce an interesting effect? I mean, that's exactly what I'm headed toward, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of having the tubes, for sure, is to try to put some fluid or air through them. And so that's just the thing that I need to build like a simple speaker-based diaphragm thing for, which I don't think I'm going to do on this stream, but I'll do that in the near future. I'll probably like start doing some of the designs for that tonight, but I think I'm running out of stuff that I can just easily do on stream at the moment. So yeah, hopefully that was interesting. Taking apart a weird bit of 90s consumer electronics that we can reuse its vibrational bits of to do arty things. James is suggesting like an LED color organ effect with that. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I certainly have LEDs here. We could do LEDs. Yeah, I mean, that's like another layer we could add. I just don't want there to be too many things going on, right? If there's already a bunch of fast motion happening from the fluid, or like I like using animated LEDs for structures that aren't really moving, or vice versa. But when you just like have everything moving at the same time, I don't know, that could be interesting. I'm just like initially a bit skeptical of the idea. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly in the toolbox for sure. And Tuco's really hanging out, doing so well right here in the chair. I've certainly made LED things that are attached to music on many occasions before, and it's fun. I really enjoy that effect in person even more than on video because you get to see the extra dynamic range from the LEDs, and that effect going along with the music is pretty nice. Yeah, Tuco is definitely in croissant mode right now. And yeah, as far as like light effects go, I mean, I've got some WS2811s here that we can drive with Fade Candy. I've got some DMX lights for just putting out more power. A lot of that stuff doesn't work amazingly well in video, though. Like the DMX lights are, you know, they're kind of like moderate modulation frequency. I think it's in the couple of hundreds of hertz range. So it's all right, but not great. And when you're moving things around quickly, then I think you're going to end up with kind of motion artifacts related to that. I'm just like stuffing more clay in the end of this pipette now because I can't get the clay out. I might as well go all the way in, right? Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for tonight's stream. Hope everyone else has a good Saturday evening or whatever time of day and time zone it is when you're watching this. And this was an interesting exploration into some stuff that I've been waiting to unbox for quite a while. And now that it's unboxed, I can do some stuff with it. Alright, happy hacking, folks. And a special thanks to everyone who supports the stream by sending in stuff to take apart, by telling your friends about the show, by, you know, just sending warm, cuddly feelings over to Tuco. And a special thanks to everyone who supports the stream with a couple bucks a month on Patreon. I continue to be amazed by how much support I get on Patreon and on the internet in general for this stuff that I put out. So I'm going to continue just trying to produce the stuff that I can produce, and let me know how it's working for you. And I really appreciate all the donations, but if you have feedback, if you have stuff that you'd like me to look into, or just like, you know, comments and stuff, then let me know on the Twitters or the YouTubes or the Gitter chat. And yeah, I will see you next time. Happy hacking, folks.